All right, folks, welcome back to the Crisis Report. It is November 20th, 2025. This one is entitled Fire at COP30. There was a major fire there. But everything in the world is kind of on fire right now, especially financially. We're going to get into that towards the end. There's a lot of financial problems going on, specifically with the cryptocurrencies and stuff. Good luck to you if you are dealing with those things. So, yeah, a lot of problems in the financial world, a lot of problems all over. Peace plan, potentially. Yeah, in that country that will not be stated. I tested it today, and yeah, sure enough, you mentioned the U word and the euchre and the bear country. you get the business, of course. Why would you want to have the ability to freely speak about major geopolitical events, right? So, anyway, keep sucking down your 12-second shorts. Let's get started on your crisis report. We are brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. If you'd like to change your IRA or 401k into gold and silver using your retirement funds, that's what they do, and they do it well. So, all right, here we go. Let's get started with your crisis report for November 20th, 2025. U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, has held a secret meeting with Jonathan Pollard, the former U.S. analyst who spent 30 years in prison for spying for Israel. Probably shouldn't say that country's name either. Major fires erupted at a climate change conference in Brazil. White House is reportedly preparing an executive order that would instruct the DOJ to sue any state that passes its own AI regulations. Lady Graham, who voted to expand warrantless surveillance on millions of Americans, is now suing the DOJ for subpoenaing his phone records. U.S. judge is ordered to an end to Trump's deployment of troops in Washington, D.C. President Trump's Ukraine peace plan includes a NATO-style security guarantee requiring the U.S. and European allies to treat any attack on Ukraine as an attack on the entire transatlantic community. And here's the list of the 28 points for resolving that conflict in the country that you shall not name. Ukraine enshrines non-alignment and rejection of NATO membership in its constitution. NATO confirms permanent rejection of their membership. Size of their armed forces is limited to 600,000 personnel. Ukraine remains a non-nuclear state. Crimea, Donetsk, and Lugansk are recognized as de facto Russian. Kherson and Zaporozhye regions have frozen along the current lines. Some territories become demilitarized under control of Bear Country. Both sides commit not to change borders by force. NATO will not deploy troops to Ukraine. NATO fighter jets are stationed in Poland. Security dialogue between the USA, NATO, and Russia with the creation of a Russian working group. Russia legally confirms a policy of non-aggression towards Ukraine, and Europe. USA and Europe launch a large investment package for Ukraine's reconstruction. $100 billion of frozen Russian assets goes towards Ukraine's reconstruction, with the U.S. receiving 50% of its revenue. I can't just code anymore. I'm just so beyond it. Please understand, with my financial thing changing, my ability to really give a you-know-what is just gone. $100 billion of frozen Russian assets to go towards Ukraine's reconstruction. USA receiving 50% of the revenue. Europe adds another $100 billion. Remaining frozen Russian assets go to the joint U.S.-Russian projects. Creation of a Ukraine Development Fund investing in infrastructure, resources, and technology. Gradual lifting of sanctions on Russia. Russia's return to the G8. Long-term economic cooperation between Russia and the U.S. All-out exchange. All-for-all exchange, returning civilians and children. Humanitarian program and family reunifications, educational programs promoting tolerance, starting the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant under IAEA supervision with electricity split 50-50 between Russia and Ukraine. USA assists with restoring Ukraine's gas infrastructure. Ukrainian presidential elections held 100 days after signing the agreement. Full amnesty for all participants in the war. Agreement is legally binding. Oversight by a peace council headed by Trump. Violations of the agreement result in sanctions and immediate ceasefire and troop withdrawal to agreed positions following the signing. So there you go. France's most senior military general has triggered a political storm after warning that the country must be ready to lose its children against the Moscow regime, arguing that France has the strength to deter Moscow but lacks the spirit to endure sacrifice. New law in Massachusetts will fine homeowners up to $200 for using a gas-powered leaf blower on their property. Police state many have been concerned about is emerging. Border Patrol is now monitoring U.S. drivers and detaining those with suspicious travel patterns. By the end of the year, the EU censorship network is set to extend across the entire union. Nancy Pelosi says that Donald Trump is the worst president of the United States for America's children. He is giving them as a gift $600 billion increase in the national debt for them to pay off. And how much did Obama give them? $10 trillion? U.S. Department of Interior launches new programs to advance U.S. energy dominance, which includes proposals to open waters off California and Florida to oil drilling. Hundreds of thousands of new jobs in Germany by 2029 because of rearmament and, well, war. Experts anticipate that European NATO member states will invest nearly $2.2 trillion in defense over the next years. Germany's benefits, particularly because it is home to arms companies such as Rheinmetall, KNDS Deutschland, and Heckler & Koch. Also, pretty smart what they're doing. They're basically deindustrializing. So people are begging for industry, and when that industry comes back, it'll be armaments. Federal regulators release initial report for UPS cargo plane crash, saying they found evidence of fatigue cracks in the left pylon where the engine separated during takeoff. Report confirms the total number of injuries from the crash to be 4 fatal, 2 serious, 21 minor. Earlier Rona lockdown may have saved 23,000 lives in England. Oh, just do it, England. Yes, you didn't like suppress and lock down hard enough, UK. Okay, what a joke. Ex-Harvard president Larry Summers and his wife spent part of their honeymoon on the island of Dr. Epstein. Flying on Epstein's plane 10 days after their wedding. Visit came months after Florida's authorities opened a criminal investigation into Epstein. U.S. Coast Guard says it claims the U.S. Coast Guard will no longer classify swastikas, nooses, or other extremist imagery as prohibited symbols as categorically false. These symbols have been and remain prohibited in the Coast Guard per policy. Someone's trying to say they're going to allow that stuff to be okay, and it's simply not true. EU panics that peace may break out because the U.S. is presenting a peace proposal to Zelensky. Kaja Kallas still defines peace in terms of sanctions and weapons, refusing diplomacy. The aim of an unconditional ceasefire is to temporarily freeze the front, rearm, and prolong the war. Europe pushes back against Trump's peace plan. EU foreign ministers reject any concessions at Ukraine's expense. European countries are not prepared to support Donald Trump's new peace proposal because it would be peaceful if it forces Ukraine into territorial concessions. Reuters reports this, citing today's meeting of EU foreign ministers in Brussels. Diplomats are clear Europe will not approve any concessions from Kiev if Trump's plan pressures Ukraine or demands the transfer of territory. The EU will not support it. Today's market crash summarized: S&P 500 wiped out $1.5 trillion in value from today's high. Bitcoin dropped 87,000. Crypto market cap is below 2.95 trillion now. An OG Bitcoin whale sold 1.3 billion in Bitcoin. Owen Gundin, a Bitcoin holder since 2011, has now sold all 11,000 Bitcoin worth 1.3 billion. There's a rumor, though, a few major crypto funds blew up during the October 10th flash crash, wiped out 19 billion. They're now being forced to sell Bitcoin and ETH or Ethereum to cover losses, which explains the relentless dumping. Also fits why alt BTC pairs are holding up well. And Bitcoin is now down 43% priced in gold. A liquidity crisis is developing in crypto and spreading to other assets, including precious metals, mining stocks. Sell Bitcoin and crypto-related equities before they go much lower, they say, and buy the dip in miners before they go much higher. That is Peter Schiff, quite the gold bug. Japanese yen is falling. It's around 155 yen per dollar, weakest level since mid-January. There's a massive interest rate gap between the U.S. and Japan. The Fed is holding rates at about 3.754%. Japan's rates are basically zero at 0.5%. This creates an insane opportunity for traders. They borrow yen at nearly 0%, convert it to dollars, stick those dollars in the U.S. Treasury bonds, earning around 3.75%. That's free money, so everyone piles into the trade. The more they sell yen to buy dollars, the weaker the yen gets. Bank of Japan could raise rates to make yen borrowing more expensive and defend the currency, but they're completely boxed in. Japan's economy just shrank 1.8% annualized last quarter, the first contraction in 6 quarters. Raising rates now would kill what little growth they have. So traders know the BOJ won't act, which means they keep selling yen with confidence. Prime Minister Takaichi is about to announce 17 to 20 trillion yen fiscal stimulus to prop up the economy. Actually makes the currency collapse worse. The bond market is already freaking out, pushing Japanese government bonds yields to multi-year highs. Why? Because everyone sees what's coming: massive deficits, more debt, and a weaker yen to pay all of it back. Real issue with Japan isn't a lack of spending. It is all structural. Population is aging, growth is stalled, and deflation expectations are baked in. Can't print your way out of that. Spending more just signals you're desperate, which tanks the yen further. So what happens next? Well, the yen keeps falling, which makes imports more expensive, pushing inflation higher. Also, wages aren't keeping up. They only grew 1.9% last month, so ordinary Japanese people get poorer. Government then feels pressure to spend even more stimulus to cushion the blow, which weakens the yen again. It's a doom loop. If we hit 160 yen per dollar, the government might actually step in with currency intervention, but that's just temporary market theater. Fundamentals don't support yen's strength until the Fed cuts rates significantly or Japan gets its fiscal house in order, and neither is happening soon. And oil prices have slid 1.5% amid increased expectations of a Russia-Ukraine peace agreement. Lord, let's hope. And the United States has quietly reactivated the former Roosevelt Roads Naval Base in Puerto Rico. The upgrades suggest preparations for sustained operations that could support a possible confrontation with Venezuela. So, that, my friends, is your crisis report for November 20th, 2025. Stick it to Borg by hitting the like button. Love you to be here. You can also become a member like Tristan Colby And there's a few more in there, I'm sure. Bad Bobber. Yep. So, sorry I wasn't here last night. I was tired, so I had to go to bed. But we're burning on both candles on the both ends. So, we're here now and we'll continue to be. All right. Much as Borg makes me angry and much as I don't really need to do this anymore. Fact is, I like to do it. So, we're going to keep doing it. Help me keep doing it by liking and subscribing, going to other places, and possibly joining us on Substack, okay? Or Subscribestar, or Locals, or X, or Minds, or Twitter, or Gab, or all the other places. Check them out. We'd love to have you there. And we'll keep the information coming because, well, I do a better job than 99% of the people out there, whether I'm recognized by this stupid platform or not. But doesn't really matter to me. You recognize me, and that's what keeps me going. So I really appreciate you. All right, friends. God bless. We'll see you on the next one.